It's time for something that's just for us. It's time to unlock something new. I'm your host, Melvin Rodriguez, and you're tuned in to The Bless Code. What's the biggest misconception about vulnerability that you see them struggle with?
I think a lot of successful men struggle with intimacy. Intimacy, intimacy. We struggle because we're success. See, I believe us as men, we love to succeed at things we can measure. So we focus on our money, we focus on our body, because high achievers like to focus on things they can measure. Right. Here's the problem: emotions, vulnerability. You can't measure that stuff, so we tend to run from it.
That's deep.
That's so. How do you tap into that? What do you think?
There's so much strength in being vulnerable, right? And I think that it's really interesting to me to see that. Well, we get taught this from a young age, right? At a young age, you're taught, particularly in some of our communities, you fall, don't cry. Right. Be tough. Right. Big boys don't cry.
That's right.
And realizing that's something that you hold for the rest of your life, right? It's don't show my emotion. Don't be vulnerable. Don't be emotional.
Right.
And that carryover continues to permeate all of your relationships with friends, with family, your spouse. And that's a really, really scary thing to realize that there's so many of us who we can spend a lot of time with each other, but we really don't know.
We don't know
what each other's
and it is so scary to continue to be that way every single day, every single year, being in that same state of mind. Interesting.
It's heavy.
Dr. Delatorro, in a recent interview, you said we will always be in one of three places in life. Now, you said in a storm, leaving a storm, or headed into one.
Yeah.
Now, with that in mind, preparation and mindset, we know are key.
Right.
Can you share that storm from your early life that shaped you, your journey, and what led you to be where you are today?
So that's fantastic, man. First of all, I firmly believe every one of us in life are only in one of three places. That's why vulnerability is so important. Because if I'm only in one of three spots, I'm either in a storm, I just left a storm, or I'm heading towards a storm, then that means that storms are a normal part of life. So since storms are a normal part of life, we have to learn how to be vulnerable enough to say, hey, Trav, man, I'm in a storm right now, champ. I'm in something right now, right? Melvin, I just got out of something, bro. I need a moment to breathe. And we got to be able to be open and honest enough to say those things. But what we tend to not do is we hold on to it. Men scream in silence.
Now, why do we do that? Why?
Because we were taught, again, like going back to what Travis talked about, from the time we were raised, we were socialized to keep to ourselves, to internalize, not to emote. Emotion, the root word of emotion, emote, is to express. The root word of emotion, motion, move the emotion out of you. Because as long as it stays in you, it's going to continue to cycle around. And that's why one of the most important aspects of enlightened masculinity is emotional intelligence. And I firmly believe that our EQ is more important than our IQ.
Man, that's a whole mic drop within itself.
Exactly.
But it translates to mindset.
That's right.
The Bible says, as a man thinketh, so is he in his heart.
That's it.
Mindset.
Yeah.
Powerful. Now, how did those early experiences help you develop your personal code?
For me, Melvin, when I realized that in life and business, you're going to be in one of those three things, what we have to do is we got to keep an umbrella ready. We got to keep our team, our posse ready. I learned at an early age, man, that I had to have people around me that believed in me, that supported me, that pushed me. So for me, one of my first encounters was in the 6th grade, because I was labeled an at-risk youth in the 5th and 6th grade, told academically I wasn't going to amount to much of anything. And it was my first Black teacher, the first day of class in 6th grade, who came into a room full of kids that she didn't know. And she looked at me for some reason, and she had the blessed code in her heart and her spirit. And she said to Dr. Delatorro, as a kid, you're not a youth at risk, you're a youth at promise. And this year, I'm not just gonna teach you, I'm gonna mentor you. And what she did was she relabeled my life. I was in a classroom full of all at-risk kids. So I had an at-risk mindset. She said, you're not a youth at risk, you're a youth at promise. And she shifted my mindset and how I saw myself. So once that happened for me in my life, what I began to realize was that, okay, and the reason why she was able to relabel me is because she saw me. For example, I used to love the Fat Boys. Because I'm a 77 cat, so I grew up on the Thundercats, the Smurfs, all that stuff. So when she found out what I was into, she said, okay, if you can memorize the Fat Man, the Fat Boys, you can memorize all these songs, you can learn the US presidents. I want you to put the US presidents in a rap. And she began to start to identify my weaknesses and redirect them as strengths. And I think the more we can learn as men that our weaknesses are not the end of the story, but our weakness is something that can be shifted into a strength. Come on, somebody. Let the weak say I'm strong. Let the poor say I'm rich.
You better say it now.
You see what I'm saying? We got to be able to make that pivot and that shift. And the more we can do that, we can operate in our blessed code. But we can't do that if we're embracing labels and we're not allowing people to see into us. My 6th grade teacher saw something in me. I'm sure every one of us have a story of a teacher that saw into us. That's what into me see is. That's what vulnerability says, hey, look, let me open up my jacket. You see what I'm saying? Vulnerability and trust are two different things. And truth are two different things. I can say I have a shirt on. Underneath this, I'm telling you the truth. Vulnerability means unzipping it so you can see it.
Talk to me about why do you think it's particularly challenging for Black men to embrace the blessing of getting rest?
That's a very good question. I think it goes back to especially professional Black men. They work in spaces where they're typically the minority, and it's an environment where they don't feel heard or seen. So they feel that rest is a luxury and not a requirement. Every hard worker knows you need to factor in rest. So I think it kind of just goes back to, the way that people matriculate through life and how life experiences, have an impact on them and, make them think that, the rest is for the weak. But in reality, you need your rest in order to be whole.
That is profound. I've learned that when I don't rest, I don't put myself in position to win. When I don't rest, I not only hurt myself, but I hurt those that rely on me. So it's important that we learn to step away so that we can get away, so that we are able to be equipped to maximizing opportunities, to maximizing the conversations in terms of greater outcome. So my brother, embrace the blessing of getting rest so that you can reset, you can recharge, you can rejuvenate, you can renew your mind for a greater tomorrow so that you won't be continue to operate in your yesterday. Brother Clifton and Woody, what advice would you all give to Black professionals struggling to find their reset rhythm? It's a struggle. I don't know how to balance it. I don't know what is that? So what advice would you give us, the brothering, those that are looking to tap into breaking down barriers, but the reset rhythm?
I would say one thing I adapted was including, a time for myself to meditate in my schedule like I would a meeting. I put that in my calendar and I say, this is a space for me to kind of, think and to be to myself and relax. So treat it as you would, any business meeting or business objective, plan for it. And I think that, definitely will lead to a higher production level and clarity.
I think for me, what's very important is in the mornings, I spend time with God. So for me, that's my reset, that's my recharge. And, you know, from experience, I was someone that had a hard time getting rest.
Well, let me profound on that, because what he just said was extremely important. Seek him first, always, and greater shall be added unto you. Preparation are the keys to success. And if you don't start your day with him first, and he told you to seek him first, what type of day shall you have? So I think that's something that as men we don't tap into and embrace. And I love how you articulated that. But build on it for me.
I had a struggle. I had a hard time resting because I always had a lot to do, and you know, to provide for my family, I felt like I couldn't rest. I had to keep going. But when I realized and when I started utilizing the Bible to help me rest and reset and, you know, schedule out plans in the Bible to kind of read, it made my day better, you know, and every time I, you know, got away from that, it showed, you know what I'm saying? So for me, it's very important to recharge, reset using the Bible.
And just to add to that, I think it's important to have balance. The Bible says that the love of money is the root of all evil. It doesn't say money's the root of all evil, but the love of money. And I think that it's important for people to have a more holistic understanding of what success is. It's not just financial gain, but it's mental, physical, and emotional success. And more important than anything else, it's peace of mind.
When the storm exists, how do you weather it? Do you hide from it?
Right.
Or do you deal with it head on and knowing that with this storm, he's protecting you, he's guiding you, he's leading you.
Come on.
And that is a pure illustration for you, brother, in terms of you staying with it and trusting and knowing that she was gonna breathe.
Right. Yeah, and I feel like one of the, like, you know, tangible ways that God helps us move through that, right? Like it's I think of, like, you know, Psalm 23:4. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, he's like, I'm not gonna fear. Why? Because you're with me. Because I know that I'm not by myself, right? What grief does is it isolates. It makes you feel like you're the only one to go through it. And when you feel like you're the only one to go through it, you justify all types of stuff. And I think one of the things that God does is, like, man, in our darkest season, he puts people next to us to help us walk through, to remind us that we really don't need somebody to turn the lights on if we have them with us, right? Like, I used to say that my daughter was scared of the dark, right? She's 8 years old, terrible nightmares. She busts up out of her bed, sprints down the hallway to our room, comes over to my side, says, Dad, can I get in the bed with y'all? She gets in the bed with us for a bit. Then when we're getting ready to send her back to her room, she says two things. It makes a statement. It's unsurprising. She says, Daddy, I'm scared of the dark. The next thing that she says is, Daddy, will you hold my hand and walk me back to my room? Out of all the times that she's been told to go back to her room, she's never asked me to turn on the lights in the dark hallway, right? Wow. She ain't scared of being in the dark. She's scared of being by herself in the dark, right? And I think of, like, man, after my brother died, this is, 6 weeks. We're a week away from getting ready to start this church. Me and my wife get into one of the biggest fights of our life. And I'm just on the wrong side of every door, right? When she asks me how I am, I'm like, stop trying to fix me. When she don't ask me how I am, I'm like, yo, you don't care, right? And so, I push her away. We're just in a bad space. And one day we got into this big fight, Melvin. My wife's like, yo, I can't take it. I'm like, let me help you pack. Send her out of the house. The worst thing that I could have said. Instantly, I knew I did something wrong. I was the lowest that I'd ever been. Hadn't been suicidal before or since that point, but at that point, I mean, you talk about dark and rock bottom, and I was there. I don't remember what I did next. I remember I sent a text out to some of my close friends. When we all lived in the same neighborhood. 4 minutes later, they all at my front door.
Wow.
And I tell you, those 4 minutes changed my life.
Wow.
I realized at that point that when you're that low, the difference between it taking a group of men 4 minutes to get to your crib and 34 minutes to get to your crib could be the difference between suicidal thoughts and an attempt. And it was, nobody turned the lights on, but just by God's grace, he placed 3 brothers that lived 4 minutes from me. And when I was at that low spot, they came in and they were like,
wow,
they held me, right? And so that's, yeah, I think sometimes, people can hear us talk and they think, the grace of God is the parting of the Red Sea. The grace of God is, bread falling from the sky. Sometimes the grace of God is 3 other Black men in their 30s ringing your doorbell when your head is spinning.
Is there a time, and we just know this from worldly views, right? Has there been a time where it's been difficult to hold on to or maintain your faith amidst all the success and all the things working out? How do you kind of get back or stay grounded or remind yourself in the midst of the blessings?
Absolutely. Obviously, the flesh is weak, and I acknowledge that. And I'll give an example. For example, in growing Mael, to the public eye, we're growing, doing extraordinary things, and which was actually happening, but on the back end, we were suffering. And people were seeing all the glory. They were seeing all these wonderful things. But on the back end, the story had begun to be daunting for us. There was a time where literally, on the financial side, we were $2 to $3 million in the hole. So we were growing and scaling.
People do not know this about product-based businesses.
But EBITDA margins were extremely low. And so as we began to continue to operate with the notion of we knew what we knew, but we also knew what we didn't know. And the things that we didn't know had begun to catch up with us. And so it became a time for me where I was confused. I began to get a bit discouraged and quite frankly began to question God on, you've brought us here and the perception that the public eye has of us does not reflect this, what we're going through. But then I had to tap into my faith, had to tap into the why were we doing this and what we came out of that has brought us to where we were. And so I began to think about my son. And Daddy, don't give up. Daddy, Mommy needs you. Daddy, Mia's counting on you. Mackenzie's counting on you. Daddy, keep going. You're going to figure it out. So it was, those things were racing through my mind and it lit a fire in me. And there was a moment where I got on my knees and I just surrendered more because I was seeking clarity, seeking direction. And I was just seeking peace as well because my mind was clouded, right? I mean, you're dealing with $2, $3 million in a hole. It's how do I get out of this hole, right? And position ourselves to growth, profitable growth. How do we do that? And so we were operating from a spirit of lack of resources, lack of structure. We're growing so fast, but we didn't have the appropriate personnel to help us in place, right? We were bootstrapping Mael for the first, 5, 6 years on our own. It was our funding.
Did y'all hear that?
So
10 plus years, and you're telling me for 5 or 6 of those, you guys were bootstrapping. You found yourself millions of dollars in debt, and you were on your knees. And as an entrepreneur, not on that level, I have felt those feelings of, is this the end? Is this it? Did you take me here to have me let it all go right here? I understand the surrendering to God. And you're like, God, just get me out one more time. And I promise I'll do right, right? But how did you actually, from a logistics standpoint, for the how did you say, okay, I have surrendered, I have the faith, this hurts, this scares me. All my insecurities are breeding themselves in my body right now because all signs say, let it go. How do you get yourself in a position to go, I know all the things I don't have the resources, don't have the mentor, don't know. How do you then get yourself in the position to surrender, to ask the right questions?
That's it.
To find the right people. You said personnel, and I thought, well, how do you hire personnel with no margins?
Yeah.
So how do you get yourself out of that space? Faith is one thing, execution is another.
Absolutely. And in that moment of surrendering, I began to get clarity. And for me, it was, you have only come to seek me when you were in need. But when you were growing and things were going well, you didn't acknowledge me. So in this moment, I'm going to humble you. And so we got humbled. I got humbled as a man, as the leader, and I was redirected. And so in that moment, in my time of meditation and prayer and surrendering, I got the whisper, you have not because you ask not. You were doing things your way based on the blessings of education or your educational level that you had in engineering and finance and logistics. You were doing things. So I'm one that's doing all things. I got it. I got this figured out. Wait, it's going. But you're still missing the most important thing. You're doing it your way, not my way. And I tell you, have not because you ask not. And the moment when that hit me, to be vulnerable and able to share what we're dealing with, things shift for us. And so then I was able to reach out, raise my hand, and reach out to individuals that have been where we were. And so our good friend, Rich Lou Dennis, who's the founder of Shea Moisture, was a huge advocate for us in the time of need for us. And quite frankly, when we reached out, or I reached out and told him what we were dealing with, he laughed at me. Because he's been where we were and said, all you have to do is pick up a phone call. I'm here. And I was just like, wow. But from that moment, we were able to overcome what we're dealing with. So we had Rich Lou and New Voices invest some seed capital into the brand. So that helped stabilize the brand and what we're dealing with in terms of financial deficit. But more importantly, the access to resources, the mentorship that we began to get from leveraging their experience was invaluable for us. So I just think in that moment, I learned the idea or the blessing to just be vulnerable, to just be transparent. You know what you know what you don't know, right? And I also began to realize that I did not have to do everything, that it was okay to trust and delegate and bring people on board that were smarter than me, that were smarter in areas than me that I wasn't. And so I just learned that if you do those things, that God will put you in the right position, right? Because of your obedience and stewardship of being selfish. Let's talk about in reverse order how your faith may have been tested in relation to financial situations, right? So let's just say things weren't going to plan and now you're tested.
Yeah, I mean, when I got to Florida, and I was a big time executive, I was one level below a president level when I got the job to come down to Florida back in 2008. And I was sending my kids to private school. I wanted to send my kids to private school. We moved in a nice home in the suburb of Orlando in town of Windermere. So bought a decent home. I had to go take out a 401k loan to make the tuition payments for January. So I had to borrow from myself to figure it out because all the stock options, the ones I had that already invested, I basically used to get down here and create what I created here. But from that point on, I mean, I was living, not check to check, but it was very temporary. I could not go invest in other things. And that created not a scary moment for me, but just a moment of damn, I've been here for 20 years now, and I mean, I have a nice house. My kids are going to private school.
What's happening here?
But what's happening here? Like, where's the bounce at with all this? And from that point on, I just kept having faith on keep being a great leader, keep being a great family person, keep being a great spouse, do the right things. I had to develop a great relationship with my pastor at that time. And so my faith journey that always ebbed and flowed got really strong from the 2008 to the, call it 2011, 2012 era, where we were locked in. Mm-hmm. And we were going to church every Sunday, and I was spending time with my pastor, and we were golfing and, spending time outside of church to help build the best version of myself. He tightened me up a lot because I still had a lot of casual language I was using, and, I still probably wasn't focused on all the right things.
So it sounds like God humbled you.
Definitely. And like, you want to take this next step, you need to get yourself right. And it's a lesson now that I learned, once you get yourself right, once you lock into me in the journey. I had this book called The Purple Book. I still have it. I would go on the road and basically read scriptures, and you're defining what the scripture taught you, and you're writing lessons down. So I was taking the Purple Book on the road at night in the hotel, and instead of watching hoops and all that, I was going to the Purple Book. I'm like, okay, I'm locked in. All right. And I'm not looking for something like, okay, what's the turnaround? When am I going to start getting? I looked at it as a commitment to the process. I felt better. I felt engaged. And then what happened from 2012 when I got the North America job all the way through the end of my time there was exponentially abundant. It was incredible run. The results, the relationships, the reputation all went through the roof. And I go back and go, what was the turning point of, like, how did all this happen where I wasn't feeling like uncomfortable, but I was feeling like, where's this headed to? Wow. Like, what did you do, man? Like, this is what you did? Now, what I now understand from there is, yes, I did this for you. There's a whole lot more you got to go do. There's another chapter of this, because after I retired and I had, a good portfolio to look at, good things happening, and time for me now to reassess what I want to do in the next chapter, I was given news I had cancer. I had colon cancer 3 months after I retired. I had blood on my stool. Got it checked out, and probably the toughest day of my life, one of the toughest days of my life, was doctor telling me in front of my wife, yeah, you've got a cancerous tumor, and you need to go see an oncologist and a surgeon. I'd see him right away. And we get in the car and go, wow, I can see she's getting upset, she's getting really, really sad, and what do we do? And, I'm like, let me phone a friend here. This is phone a friend time. Phoned a friend who I knew had cancer, person I had never, who always been reaching out to talk to me, spend time with me, but always kept saying, I'm traveling, I'm busy. But at this time, I phoned her and said, Maria, I need help. I'm in a situation here, I need some advice. Gotcha. And within 2 hours, on the phone with the chief medical officer, on the phone with my surgeon, we got you, send us your records, done, we got you. Don't worry about a thing, we got you. From what I look at, I'm not going to give you the diagnosis over the phone, but we can treat this, we got you. Wow. And so I go, here's another moment where, again, he's setting a landscape for me to saying, don't get too comfortable, there's more work to go do, but now you got to get your body right, because you ignored your body for years. Surgeon told me you've been carrying cancer for 18 months. Wow. Because I was worried about, I want to do the surgery, and I ended up doing it in May. And there was a time where it might have been July with the scheduling department. I'm like, I can't wait till July. He's like, Derek, you've been carrying this thing for 18 months. Another month ain't gonna really matter. Wow. You had it for 18 months. You've been walking around with this for 18 months. And the centimeter,
didn't even know it.
Didn't even know it. Well, there were signs, but I ignored the signs. Digestive signs. I say traveling, drinking, eating bad on the road, and I would take supplements or things to relieve myself.
But it kind of ties into our ego. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm feeling good.
I feel good.
The executive physical passed with flying colors. Right. Your physicals are good. Your stress test is good. Your cognitive skills are really good. You're one of the high. You're in the 80, 90th percentile in your testing. So I'm like, babe, I'm good. Derek, you need more routine checkups. You need a general physician. You need a PA. And I'm like, okay. But so I feel like there was another cycle where God said, get you back grounded, because now you got a bigger mission. right? And so now I'm on that bigger mission. I call it go-giver mission. I was always a go-getter, and now I'm a go-giver. So it shifted. Now I'm still going to get it, but I was 100% go-getter most of my career, most of it. The last part of my career, I started to really think about others in ways and the legacy and paying the legacy off. But now the pendulum has shifted. Now there's a much more bigger framework of go-giving than go-getting. Go-getting I can do in my sleep. So you don't need to emphasize that anymore. You've proven you can do that. Now you need to step up to go-giving because now your impact is going to be far greater. I'm going to save your life. I'm going to extend your life to do that. I'll make sure you have the resources. I'll make sure your relationships stay world class. The people that come to my life that you know are just generating tremendous energy. You being one of them, and so now this is really a time to pay it forward. It's a fun time because you get to put smiles on faces of other people. You get to change lives. You get to watch people get excited about their life. And it's all because I'm not trying to create value out of that for me or wealth out of that for me. I'm doing my job, my obligation. Because when I was 8 or 9 or 10 years old, you saved my life. It's now my chance to go save other people's lives.
Thank you for joining this episode of The Blessed Code. Living by His Code is a journey full of grace, growth, and opportunities to bless others. If today's episode spoke to you, please share this powerful message and don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and connect with us on social to stay grounded, grateful, and blessed. Until next time, keep your faith strong, your heart open, and live life you're destined for. I'm your host, Melvin Rodriguez, and you just unlocked another Blessed Code.